Hello everyone, my name is Sakshi Pawar. I am student of Britsari Institute from batch 22. So today's topic for daily task video is the blood. The blood is a fluid that transport the oxygen and nutrients to the cells and carries away the carbon dioxide and other waste products. So technically, blood is a transport liquid pumped by the heart or an equivalent structure to all parts of the body, after which it is returned to the heart to repeat the process. Blood is both a tissue and a fluid. So it is a tissue because it is a collection of a similar specialized cells that serve particular function. These cells are suspended in a liquid matrix which is known as plasma, which makes the blood a fluid. If blood flow ceases, death will occur within minute because of the effect of an unfavorable environment on highly susceptible cells. The consistency of the composition of the blood is made possible by the circulation, which conveys blood through the organs that regulate the concentrations of its components. In the lungs, blood acquires oxygen and releases carbon dioxide transported from the tissues. The kidney removes excess water and dissolved waste products. Nutrient substances derived from the food reaches the bloodstream after absorption by the gastrointestinal tract. The glands of the endocrine system releases their secretions into the blood, which transport these hormones to the tissues in which they exert their effects. Many substances are recycled through the blood. For example, iron released during the destruction of the red plasma to sites of the new red cell production where it is reused. Each of the numerous components of the blood is kept within the appropriate concentration limits by an effective regulatory mechanism. In many instances, feedback control systems are operative. Thus, a declining level of the blood sugar, which is glucose, leads to accelerate release of the glucose into the blood, so that a potentially hazardous depletion of the glucose does not occur. So in unicellular organism, primitive multicellular animals and early embryos of higher forms of life like a circulatory system. Because of their small size, these organisms can absorb oxygen and nutrients and can discharge waste directly into their surrounding medium by the simple diffusion. The sponges, for example, jellyfish and hydras, also lack a blood system. The means to transport the foodstuffs and oxygen to the all the cells of these larger multicellular animals is provided by water pumped through spaces inside the organism. In larger and more complex animals, transport of the adequate amount of oxygen and other substances require some type of a blood circulation. In most such animals, the blood passes through a respiratory exchange membrane which lies in the gills, lungs, or even the skin. There, the blood picks up the oxygen and disposed of carbon dioxide. Most invertebrates have various large blood cells capable of movement. Some of these aid in the transporting the substances. Other are capable of surrounding and digesting the foreign particles or debris, which are known as the phagocytosis. Compared with the vertebrate blood, however, that of the invertebrates has relatively few cells. Among the vertebrates, there are several classes of the amoeboid cells, which are white blood cells or leukocytes, and the cells that help to stop the bleeding, which are platelets or thrombocytes. Oxygen requirements have played a major role in determining both the composition of the blood and the architecture of the circulatory system. In some simple animals, including small worms, and transported oxygen is merely dissolved in the plasma. Larger and more complex animals, which have greater oxygen needs, have pigments capable of transporting relatively large amounts of oxygen. The red pigments hemoglobin, which contains iron, is found in all vertebrates and in some invertebrates also. In almost all vertebrates, including the humans, hemoglobin is contained exclusively within the red cells, which are erythrocytes. The red cells of the lower vertebrates, for example birds, have a nucleus, whereas mammalian red cells lack a nucleus. Those of the humans, but the goat compensate by the having many more red cells per unit volume of the blood. The concentration of the hemoglobin inside the red cell varies little between species. The hemocyanin, which is a copper containing protein chemically unlike hemoglobin, which is found in some crustaceans. The hemocyanin is a blue in color when oxygenated and colorless when oxygen is removed. So, in many invertebrates, the respiratory pigments are carried in a solution in the plasma, but in the higher animals, including all the vertebrates, the pigments are enclosed in the cells. If these pigments were freely in solution, the pigment concentrations required would cause the blood to be viscous as to impede circulation. For a full treatment of blood groups that convey the blood to all the organs of the body, so the general and comparison of the blood and lymph of a diverse organism circulations. In humans, blood is an opaque red fluid, freely flowing but denser and more viscous than the water. The characteristic color is imparted by the hemoglobin, which is a unique iron containing protein. The hemoglobin brightens in the color when the saturated with oxygen, which is known as oxyhemoglobin, and darkens when the oxygen is removed, which is known as deoxyhemoglobin. For this reason, the partially deoxygenated blood from the veins is darker than the oxygenated blood from an artery. The red blood cells, which are erythrocytes, constitute about the 45% of the volume of the blood, and the remaining cells, which are white blood cells or leukocytes, and platelets or the thrombocytes, which are less than 1%. The fluid portion plasma is a clear, slightly sticky, yellowish liquid. After a fatty meal, plasma appears turbid. Within the body, the blood is permanently fluid, and the turbulent flow assures that the cells and plasma are fairly and homogeneously mixed. So the total amount of the blood in human varies with the age, weight, body type, gender, and other factors. But a rough average figure of adults is 60 milliliters per kilogram of the body weight. An average young male has a plasma volume about 35 milliliters and a red cell volume of about 30 milliliters per kilogram of the body weight. So in particular, water rapidly moves in and out of the bloodstream, achieving a balance with the extravascular fluid, which are those outside the blood vessels within the minutes. The normal volume of the blood provides such an adequate reverse that is appreciable. Blood loss is well tolerated. Withdrawal of 500 milliliters of blood from the normal blood donors is a harmless procedure. Blood volume is rapidly replaced after blood loss within the hours. The plasma volume is restored by the movement of the extravascular fluid into the circulation. The replacement of the red blood cells is completed within the several weeks. The vast area of the capillary membrane through which the water passes freely would permit the instantaneous loss of the plasma from the circulation were it not for the plasma proteins such as serum albumin. The osmotic effect of the serum albumin retains fluid within the circulation, opposing the hydrostatic forces that tend to drive the fluid outward into the tissues. The liquid portion of the blood, the plasma, is a complex solution which contains more than 90% of the water. The water of the plasma is freely exchangeable with that of the body cells and other extracellular fluids, and is available to maintain the normal state of hydration of all the tissues. The single largest constituent of the body, it is essential to existence of every living cell.